The mission today, we've finished up these logs, almost. I am going to have to get all this cleaned out because I want to make this more of a production area, but there's also some prime drying yard area right here. So this is on that high end of the yard. It didn't get any water up on this side, and I'm going to take advantage of it. These are all of the butt ends that I had to cut off of the logs. I didn't want those going through the processor. We will get those split up probably with the timber ox. We'll just push it over here and get these knocked out. So that load was mostly maple, but I did have a few oaks in it, and I've set these off to the side so that we can just have a straight oak run. I still sort by species. That is the name of the game for value-added firewood. And all of the cherries I had moved down. Oh, look, there's the world's greatest wheelbarrow. I moved all the cherries down here, and then we'll have a straight cherry run. And then these next logs getting into here is mostly all cherries. So I'm going to have a bunch of cherry here real quick. Cherry dries out super fast. And given the flood, that's why maple now is priority, because it dries out pretty quick, especially in here at the heat of the summer. This ground really radiates heat, and it's almost like a natural kiln, huh? So we are running logs today. This is all maple, and they're kind of skinnier logs, but this is what was delivered, and we're just running these through the 405 into the trailer, and then we'll get that stacked today. Finally, the sun's shining here in Northeast Ohio. So let me get the machine warmed up, and you guys can sit back and enjoy the show. And I have been running this machine a lot. We are due for a clean out, and I've got stuff all over the place. And we got to get this clean, and that will be my task tomorrow. And this is a little trap door that the stuff that gets behind the belt has a way to get out instead of building up. There we go. If there's anything I've been doing pretty good since we've moved here, it's keeping the production area clean. I just don't like stuff all over the ground, trip hazards, and it just looks better. I think it plays a role too, because these will shake loose hydraulic fittings and it'll start leaking oil, and it's easier to figure that out when the ground is clean. If you got a big pile of sawdust underneath it, it'll soak it all up and you'll never know until it's too late. All right, here we go. challenge with the ground being so soft, my trailer is falling off the block, but no big deal. We got more wood to make. And that is how it is done. The Japa 405. What a great machine. It just doesn't stop. Makes great firewood that I have to go stack now. All right, I hope everyone is having fun out there watching firewood on YouTube. Everyone have a great day.